Welcome to another Adobe Premiere tutorial. We are going to be looking at some text, a little bit of animation, and most importantly, nesting sequences. So using multiple sequences within one project. So we're going to start off with this landscape sequence. Okay, I've just renamed it landscape and I've brought down my panorama JPEG. It's considerably larger than the 720 by 480 resolution of the sequence I'm working in, and that's why you see it here all zoomed in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my effects controls and select my panorama JPEG, and under motion I'm going to scale it down, and I think just a little bit. Alright, I still want to see the whole thing, and of course, as you can see, I still don't have the entire image in, so I'm going to slide it over just so I'm looking at the very edge. Okay, so in my case I'm at 657 240 and I'm scaled down to about 51%. Your numbers may vary. I'm going to set a keyframe for that and go to the end of my 10 seconds, and I'm now just going to slide it over. Right, so I went from one side, and that's far enough. I don't want to see any black to the other side. Okay, perfect. Here we have some animation. Pretty simple. Back and forth, nice slow pan. Moves gently across. Okay. Now with that landscape sequence now made, I'm going to copy it twice. So right click and duplicate. And the landscape copy, I'm going to name that clouds. And now I'm going to duplicate the clouds one. And I'm going to take the clouds copy and I'm going to name it stroke. Okay. Now, down here you see you only have one sequence, which is the landscape. I now want to go into my cloud sequence. Okay, and now it pops up. It does the exact same thing, right? Right now they're identical. Only this time I'm going to bring in a clouds title. Now I've already made the title. It's a very simple solid green title on a blue background. So I used the text tool here and I made Arial black font solid green. So that's RGB value 02550. To make the blue background, I used a rectangle tool, and it's RGB value 00255. I sent the rectangle to the back by using this arrange, bring to front, or arrange, send to back. And there we go. Now I'm going to bring my clouds title down here. Stretch it out so it's the same size, and you can see nothing goes through. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to add a video effect, and I'm going to go down to keying, and there's a few different keyers I could use. I'm just going to use a color key, and I can drag it onto the clouds layer. Okay, by default it gets rid of blue, right? But I actually wanted to get rid of the green, so I'm going to get rid of 255 green. All right, so 02550. That's the same color as the clouds text I made. And now you can see I've got a nice clean key, and the clouds are behind there. You'll also notice that the clouds move, all right, because they still have a keyframe. Now, one thing I want to do here, I want to offset these clouds, or these this panorama image just a little bit. I don't want it to be the same as the background. So I'm just going to move it up just a little bit. There we go. And now you can see it sort of floats a little bit, and that's good. Okay, I've got my clouds layer done. I now want to go into the stroke layer. Again, here I just have my panorama gently going back and forth. I'm going to make a new title, but I'm going to make it based on this clouds title. So if I just double click on the clouds title, top left corner, I can new title based on current title. So if I click on there, I'm going to call this one stroke. And all I'm going to do is give this clouds text a little bit of a stroke, and I'm going to change the text to blue and the stroke to green. So here's my, say I'll do it out of order. So here's my outer stroke. I'm going to add an outer stroke. Size of 10, 15, 20, whatever you like. That's up to you. And the color of the stroke, we're going to make that 0 to 55, 0. Okay. And now my fill for my text, I'm going to switch that from the green that I had and make it pure blue, just like the background. When I close that down, I now have a stroke title over here. I'm going to drag it down onto video 1, and I'm going to extend that out a little bit, and I'm going to put the exact same color keyer on there. Okay, it does the same thing again, but of course I want it to key out green. And that should do a good job, not too bad. If you like, you can increase the color tolerance a little bit, and that's going to help just get rid of those edges, because it's a pretty thin little line right now. All right, and that's a little too much. There we go. Okay, once again, I want to offset the panorama just a little bit. So right now the panorama has 2 keyframes, right? 657 and 240. I'm actually going to go to that first keyframe and just lower it down. I raised the last one, so I'll lower this one down a little bit. And so I'm at 325, and I'm going to do the exact same number over at the end. So 325, good. All right, so once again, you can see those clouds flying past. Okay, I now have my 3 layers made. I want to go back into my landscape. Okay, and it's just my panoramic view sliding past. And I'm going to bring in my clouds composition, or my cloud sequence. Okay, I'll put it right on top. And on top of that, I'm going to bring in the stroke sequence. All right, so here's the stroke sequence, and I'm going to bring that in. Whoops, that's the stroke title. I want to bring in the stroke sequence. There it is. It shall be 10 seconds long, right on top. Now, each of these, the stroke sequence and the cloud sequence, are going to get a non-red key effect. There's non-red key. I'll dump it on there. Non-red key, and dump it on there. Okay, so now you got this sort of glassy-like, slightly offset text. If you play it through, you'll see that the text doesn't line up perfectly, and so it kind of floats a little bit differently. Kind of cool. And that's pretty much it. Now, you can add a few blurs to the text if you like, if you want to refine it a little bit. You may want to go back into these compositions and adjust them so that some of the clouds are showing up more or less at certain parts. I don't really like this over here. I've got the letters are starting to disappear at the end. So I might go and I try to maybe have the clouds move slower. So just to show you, I can go into the stroke composition again. And right now we've got these clouds moving along, and you can see the S and the D at the end are sort of invisible at this point. So maybe I'll just either take my keyframes or just adjust them a little bit. Maybe I'll get rid of this one keyframe. All right, so it starts there, and maybe I'd like to have it end quite a bit sooner. So it goes much slower. There we go. Now I have these 2 keyframes. It goes much slower from beginning to end. And that's probably going to look a little better. Any updates I've made here have already updated in the landscape. Okay, and so now I can go in and I can watch it one more time. And there we go. Render this out, post it to your blogs, and see you next time.